All right, welcome, folks. We are joined here at the NFL Combine with Dallas play-by-play TV, a little bit of jack of all trades, right? Kyle Youmans. So, Kyle, thank you for joining us. First of all, before we get going, tell the good people where they can find you on Twitter and give us a little bit of a better description of what you do.
Yeah, so TV host for the Cowboys. Been there for 4 seasons. This will be my 5th season coming up here in just a little bit. You can find me on Twitter at Kyle_Youmans. It's YOUMANS. And yeah, I do a little bit of play-by-play on the side, a little college basketball, college football. And but man, the gig is the Cowboys, and I love the draft too. I serve as our lead draft analyst, so having a lot of fun with that. And I've got a great team on the draft show that we brought to Radio Row this week. So we're straight back behind you, and we've got some great shows coming out. So yeah, glad to be here.
Awesome. How's the draft or the combine been so far? I know Mike McCarthy spoke the other day, talking to all the prospects. What's your favorite parts, man?
Yeah, I think overall it's the information that's shared here because you get to see the convergence of the entire NFL into a couple of blocks in Indianapolis.
It's great.
It is. And you hear so many different things, not only about the team that you work for and the Cowboys specifically, but about other teams. I mean, I've got friends with the Raiders. I've got friends with the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Seahawks, and hearing some of the different storylines that are coming out of those camps as well. Yeah. It's so fun. And I'm just a football nerd, if I'm being honest. Yeah. And so this is a great week, and you get the chance to meet new people along the way as well that do similar things to what you do and kind of pick their brains at the same time. So the informational side of it is my favorite. It's been great so far, as it always is in Indianapolis, and getting to hear from Mike McCarthy yesterday. He answered a lot of questions surrounding the coaching changes for the Cowboys and some of the different look that they're going to go into 2023 without Kellen Moore at offensive coordinator. They elevated Brian Schottenheimer into that role. But for the most part, that was the stem of the conversation, that and then a couple of personnel things as well. But as far as the draft goes, it is wide open for the Dallas Cowboys. I'll tell you that much right now.
So I'll go down that. I'll go down that road. Where do you think? There's 2 questions. Okay. Where do you think they will go? Where do you think they should go? Because those 2 things are not always the same.
No, they're not. And it happens every year that you get down to the nitty gritty, and especially picking at 26 overall. They've got a long way to wait. They've got a long way to really see how the board develops in front. And how other teams will kind of shape the way that they do. Think about it. A couple years ago, they were picking number 10. We were chalking up Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn to Dallas at the cornerback spot. We were ready for put the name on the back of the jersey. Let's go. Well, all of a sudden, they go bang, bang to Carolina, to Denver, and then all of a sudden you're empty at cornerback at the 10th spot. You trade back down to 12. Micah Parsons is there at 12. You didn't even know if he was going to be the pick.
And now here we are.
And I'm sorry, that was a steal. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what the draft is, though. And so there are so many different things still to come. Pro days, all these interviews this week in Indianapolis, the medical checks, and the interviews, of course, with the media as well, that it's hard to tell. But right now, if I had to say what's most likely to happen, I think it would be corner or offensive line. Those are the 2 spots that right now look like the most value, at least in the first round. Because even if you don't go first round, you can still get some quality guys, but there's a bigger drop-off at that position. You have multiple prospects at corner that are first-round caliber cornerbacks, and they've talked to a bunch of those guys already. Offensive line, you have Tyler Smith from last year. You took him in the first round. You could potentially go that direction again because you're starting left guard as a free agent. Tyron Smith, what does his future look like in Dallas? Zach Martin's not getting any younger, and Tyler Biadasz is going into a contract year as well. Even Terrence Steele on the right tackle spot. He's a potential guy that you have to put a first-round tender on because he's a restricted free agent coming off an injury. So there are questions up front on the offensive line. I think it's one of those 2 positions right now. What I would do, I would still go with the offensive line. So that, like I said, I just outlined really a ton of what the problem is up front.
Right.
They still played well offensively, but in order to protect Dak Prescott, you got to give him some time to throw it. So I think that offensive line is something to keep an eye on.
So, in my opinion, you guys have a gluttony of skill position talent down in Dallas, which is huge. That's a great thing to have, especially in the backfield with Zeke and Pollard and like that. The success that's been there. So basically, what I'm getting to is, what what's the shape of that backfield, and what do you think the Cowboys are going to do with Zeke's contract with the success? I know I'm going right into it with the success that you had in Pollard, and what are your thoughts on that?
So there's a couple different options. One, you can get out of Zeke's contract and save you a little bit of money. You would have some dead money. You could also restructure it. You could take a pay cut. Marcus Lawrence did something very similar a couple years ago, and I think this is a party, a 1-2 punch that would love to stay together with Pollard and Zeke. And if that's going to happen, I think Pollard would have to take a long-term deal, and I think Zeke would have to take a pay cut. So both of those things would have to happen. I think it can happen with the franchise tag on Tony Pollard and Zeke taking a pay cut. It's one of those two options. If not, you're going to have one of those two guys out the door. You're either going to lose Tony Pollard or you're going to lose Ezekiel Elliott. And if that's the case, then I think drafting a running back's on the table. There's a lot of really good running backs, not even just in the first round. We've heard a lot around Cowboys Nation about Bijan Robinson from Texas. And
I'm sure they would love Robinson.
That would be a lot of fun. But 26th overall, drafting a running back in the first round is always shaky. So maybe those second-round running backs, third-round guys. Tajay Spears out of Tulane might be a third-round or a fourth-round player, and he might fit the mold. He's a little bit undersized for what the Cowboys have usually done in the past, but he's explosive.
He's so talented.
He's so fun to watch.
You put him in a slot, and
versatility as well. You can move him in and out in the new West Coast style offense. It's going to be very interesting to see. So I think for the most part, running back it's a volatile position right now because you could have both of those guys back. I personally anticipate both guys back.
Okay.
I think it's better for both parties, both Zeke and Pollard.
Okay.
But also for Pollard and the team to get a long-term deal done. For Zeke and his longevity in this league, it's better that he has a star on his helmet. So I think all the parties involved with Zeke, Pollard, and the front office, they want this tandem to stay together. I think they will. I think they'll find a way to do it. And I think they're going to do it without using the franchise tag on Pollard, but they're running out of time to do that. What could happen? They could tag Pollard next week, tag him, buy them time up until April to actually do a long-term deal with it, and then maybe get that done moving forward. They said they were going to have conversations this week. I haven't heard anything further about that moving forward.
I don't know if this is even a part of the storyline, Kyle, but how is the relationship between Zeke and Tony Pollard?
It's great. Yeah, those two guys, awesome. I mean, they're their biggest fans. And that's not – it sounds cliche. It really does. But it's not. It's true all the way through because Pollard was there when Zeke was shining. And now Zeke gets a chance to be there when Pollard is shining. And they're different at the same time. I mean, Zeke is still a powerful runner. He's still a guy that's going to be a short yardage back. Now, for $90 million on his contract, that's not necessarily the value that you're paying for. But if you were to get him on a cheaper deal, all of a sudden you look at his whole scenario from a different light. So you pay him a different amount of cash and his contract hit, his cap hit isn't nearly as much. Then you're looking at Zeke a little bit differently. Whereas Tony Pollard starts to become your explosive, your lead back, your guy that you can rely on. But at the same time, Pollard is a little bit smaller than a lot of those lead 3-down backs in the NFL. So do you want him to take the bulk of these carries, or do you want to have somebody that you can kind of shape that with, like a Zeke? In those short yardage, those grounded pound, the tough physical runs. It's a good 1-2 punch because it works together, and they do have different skill sets, and they work better together than they would anywhere else apart.
So the passing game down in Dallas, I love Dak Prescott, to be honest with you. I think he's great. And to be honest with you, I think he takes a lot of crap from fans in Dallas and nationally. I have no issues there. CeeDee Lamb's an absolute stud. However,
say it again, just because I just want to hear it.
Okay.
CeeDee Lamb's an absolute stud. Just say it one more time.
So Lamb's a stud. That's what we're getting at.
So I'm curious though. What are they going? Do you think that they may add a wide receiver though to via free agency or in the draft this upcoming year?
It's a conversation, no doubt, and I think it would probably benefit them more to get a young, talented wide receiver. Could happen in 26. I don't think it's out of the question. If they like a Jordan Addison from USC, Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State, one of those two really talented guys falls to 26. I think they're definitely in the conversation because then you bridge the gap between CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. And then if Jalen Tolbert comes along the way that he was anticipated to as a third-round pick last year, then maybe you've got your four guys right there. You can roll. So yeah, I think it's a conversation. They looked into bringing in veterans. Of course, last year you thought about the Odell Beckham Jr. saga and everything that happened there.
That was a very long process.
It certainly was. I had to talk about it every day.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
But that didn't end up working out. But guess what did? T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
T.Y. Hilton ended up working out. And so they could maybe go get a veteran guy, but I think it's more likely that they would draft somebody more than maybe going and getting an OBJ or a wide receiver that's on the free agent market. Maybe like, I don't even want to say specific names, but I think a draftable guy is a better option. But you spoke to Dak and kind of the credit that he gets. He gets too much of the credit when things are going good.
Right.
He gets too much of the hate when things are going bad.
Right.
That's the nature of the position.
Part of being not even
Dallas
just the
Cowboys
position,
quarterback.
but being
That's
with this too.
exactly.
So there is that balance that's back and forth. And if there's anybody to handle that type of pressure and that type of mentality, it's Dak. And, and he's shown that throughout his career.
So the only reason I'm saying I can bring that up, Kyle, is because my wife's father is a huge Dallas Cowboys fan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
sounds like a good dude.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's absolutely a great guy.
Yeah.
He's not a huge fan of Dak Prescott.
You hit the in-law lottery.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And her stepdad's a Packers fan.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
close enough.
Fair.
I'll keep my mouth shut on my fandom then.
Yeah.
You're a Packers fan?
He is. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a Bears fan.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We have a great relationship.
It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, take care.
Okay, so I'm curious, Kyle, and this may be nothing. Do the Cowboys regret trading Amari Cooper at all, seeing how successful he was last year? And you even said they have to bridge that gap between CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup.
Yeah.
Do they regret that decision at all?
They don't, at least what they've said.
Okay.
Stephen Jones was asked that exact question this week, just a couple blocks away, and he said, we don't regret that trade. And there's parts of that I believe, and there's parts of it that I don't. The one part that I do believe is because it allowed CeeDee Lamb to emerge.
Right.
He's a number one. He's a guy that might be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL this year. Because of that.
He's a stud.
He's a stud. You can say it again. That's the part they don't regret, because with Kellen Moore, you know how tough it would be to get CeeDee Lamb his targets as a number one guy and allow him to really take over that locker room, because it's not just on the field. He does a lot of stuff off the field. He's part of the leadership committee. He's only in year number 3. He's going into a contract year, not this year, but the next year. You can start conversations this year. I think his growth was vastly expedited by the departure of Amari Cooper, where if you don't have that departure, you could get him targets, but he's not going to take that next step.
Okay.
You're going to get him the target.
That's
because
true.
then you got to get 10 targets to Amari Cooper if you're Kellen Moore on the offensive side. And it's a challenge, because then if you're putting 10 targets there, you're taking carries away from Tony Pollard.
Right.
You're taking
At
targets
some point,
away
there's
from other
too many
weapons.
cooks in the kitchen.
Too many cooks. And not
people
to
mad at
say
Dak Prescott.
but that's the thing they don't regret. The thing they do regret is having a talented technician type of route runner that Amari Cooper is, and a sure-handed guy that would make your football team better.
Right.
It was a better move for CeeDee Lamb and for the passing game as a whole. But as for Amari Cooper and the money that he was allocated, you were able to sign 3 or 4 other guys for your football team with the $20 million that you were going to owe him this year. So it was a move they don't regret. Could they have used Amari Cooper? Absolutely, because he's that good of a football player.
Right.
So, Kyle, before you came over here, I actually may have said a controversial thing to MJ that you may not have agreed with. I actually said Micah Parsons is, if not the best defensive player in the NFL right now. He's approaching that status. First thought that came to my mind was him, obviously. Do you see anybody else, in your opinion, approaching that level to help him out on the defensive side of the ball? Because, I mean, I'm sorry, as a Bears fan, I don't watch Cowboys football all the time.
Sure,
so I'm going to be flat out honest with you.
Okay.
And Diggs, I do like Diggs, too. I think Diggs is a beast at corner. And obviously Parsons is the first person that comes to my mind right away, because the Cowboys football that I've watched, he always stands out. He's always making plays.
Yep.
Is there anybody else on that defensive, 11 that, aside from those two, that stand out and people should know about?
No, that's a good point, because, Micah is the one that steals the show, and I don't see what's controversial about Micah Parsons being one of
He said no. Right
because
away.
he said the best.
I did.
And
okay, that's true. But see, I'm being
he
nice
did say
right now.
the best.
Okay, I'm being,
And to
I don't
me,
think he's far off.
yeah,
no.
he's in the conversation.
I still would put Bosa in front of him.
Yeah, I would.
At this very moment.
At this very moment, I would put Bosa and TJ Watt in front of him. But I would put him in a very clear 3.
That's close.
I would put him in a very clear. Yes, I agree.
TJ.
Close.
But I need to see Micah. I just need to see a little bit more.
Okay,
I'm almost there.
Completely fair.
I give him 3.
And he was a little worn down by the end of the year. If he would have
He was doing so much.
If he would have kept at the pace that he did through the first 8 games of the year, he might have won.
That is part of it. Is
And we even give him a touchdown from Justin Fields.
Yeah, you're
Merry
right.
Christmas. That is to that point. Bosa and Watt also have more help on the defensive end, in my opinion. Yep. So they don't have to do the job of an interior defensive lineman, edge rusher, and linebacker every game.
Yeah, that's the thing about Micah is that he's all over the place and he rarely leaves the field.
Yeah.
So it's a weapon to use, and I think he's if not number 1, he's number 2 or number 3. The thing about Micah is that he does so much that you need pretty much more guys around him to fill in when he's not doing that specific job.
Right.
I think one guy that's going to help with that this year is Sam Williams, second round pick last year out of Ole Miss. He had flashes. He had opportunities. Didn't have a ton of snaps. So I want to see his snap count continue to go up. This defensive staff is really, really excited about what Williams can bring because he does bring an added pass rush element that's a little bit more constrained to the actual defensive end position as opposed to just coming up off of the second level and then blitzing.
Right.
So I think it allows Micah to play more free. If I could say somebody else, it would probably be Mr. Outside Hire, and that's going to be a big nose tackle because you think about the run stopping ability for Dallas. It struggled throughout the year.
Yeah.
They were bottom 5 in the league in terms of stopping the run for a reason. They need a big, hefty nose tackle to really come in, whether it's a draft prospect or whether it's a free agent to maybe come in and stuff up the middle of that defense. I think it allows for everybody to play a little bit more free. One other guy that I do want to mention it's in the secondary. It's not Trayvon Diggs, since you said outside of Diggs. DeRon Bland came on as a huge piece at the cornerback position this past year. Had 5 interceptions. He was phenomenal in coverage. He still had some growth. He still had some blown plays. He did as a rookie. He's a 5th-round pick out of Fresno State. Yeah, I think he's going to continue to elevate his game, and if he's able to do that, I think it helps everybody out.
Okay.
So to your point, actually, ESPN's team run stop win rate for the Dallas Cowboys this past year, they ranked 24th.
Yeah. So
that's not very good.
Yeah.
So Kyle, I'm curious. Just last question I really have for you is a general question. Who do you see as the Cowboys' biggest opponent in the NFC that they've got to go through next year?
Man, dude, it's anybody but the Packers. No, I'm just kidding.
My turn to walk away now.
I think I want to say, it's got to be the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Probably.
The way that they've built their team, the youth that they have, the quarterbacks.
They've got a lot of free agents, though, Kyle.
And you also think they
Not a lot of cap space either.
You're right. And I think that's going to be a challenge for them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
They've had a good run of finding cheap talent the last couple of years. The one thing about the NFC right now is that it's so wide open from a quarterback position standpoint.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, this is not a shot. This is an actual take. Aaron Rodgers is, of course, on his way down. You talk about potentially even out of the NFC, depending on where he ends up
Essentially
landing.
out of the NFL.
Potentially out of the NFL. Who knows? So with him not in the fold, Tom Brady, of course, not in the fold.
Right.
Thank goodness.
The NFC runs through Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
It's not the AFC where you have all these young quarterbacks where you have the Patrick Mahomes and the Justin Herberts and the Trevor Lawrence that's coming up all of a sudden. Josh Allen.
Five of the top 7 quarterbacks are in the AFC.
Exactly. So those quarterbacks that are good enough to best Justin Fields are going to try to best Justin. Or not Justin.
I'm okay with you saying that.
No, I was looking at you.
Hey, man, no, it's cool.
It's
cool.
I meant Jalen Hurts.
Hey, man. Say it one more time.
the NFC runs through Justin Fields, right?
Hey, that's breaking right here.
Yeah. No, it's Jalen Hurts. And what he brings from a dual threat and a leadership standpoint, it's a new wave of quarterback that you never really thought could be successful. Right. Here he is doing what he's doing. It runs through the Eagles right now, and I think it will be until they get knocked off.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. So, last question for you, Kyle. I'm usually the one that asks the knuckleheaded questions. I'm totally proud about that too. So obviously down here in Indianapolis, we have like I said, everyone's converging in certain areas. I was calling it the whispers of the combine, this, that, and the other, because people share stories while they are consuming alcohol.
Yeah.
So that said, Kyle, I'm a huge Coors Light fan. Obviously, you don't have to be if you don't like alcohol, if you don't drink beer, right, like that. Please don't be inclined to answer the question. Fair enough. I was gonna say, what is?
I thought I saw that.
I was gonna say, what is the
sponsorship?
What is the drink of? So that can I ask that question? What's the
You
drink,
can.
What's the drink of question? Or excuse me, when you?
It's funny because the last like 2 years I've been a big Moscow Mule guy.
Okay.
Ooh.
Like in a copper mug.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like I've been really big into Moscow Mules, but I've always been a bourbon guy.
Okay. What's the bourbon of choice?
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kentucky
I do
bourbon.
like. I like
really.
Kentucky.
And I like Texas bourbon too. Like they're both solid. I don't really discriminate too much. Like my favorite overall like chain brand is probably Bullet. Bullet bourbon. I think it's great. I would say recently it's been a Kentucky Mule.
Okay.
I really like the Kentucky Mule.
I've actually never had.
I went to dinner last night with a good friend of mine, Tom Downey, who actually is sitting currently about 10 feet that way. And he had a Kentucky Mule last night, and I was like, deal, getting one. Like, I'm already joining it. So there you go.
It's good. The Kentucky Mule.
It was great. There you go. Yeah, it was solid. Yeah, it was a good drink. Yeah, there you go. Said he felt it in the morning. Yeah,
I love
same
that.
here.
That's good.
But yeah, no, it was. That's kind of been my drink of choice for this trip, anyways, and we'll see how that kind of changes as we go along.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I love that. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for taking some time. I know you're a busy man, but it's been a pleasure. We'll have to have you on at some point during the season.
Would love to.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Appreciate you guys having me. Y'all have fun.
Yeah, and Kyle, if you want to give your Twitter handle one more time, so that way.
Kyle_Youmans. That's YOUMANS, and DallasCowboys.com for everything you want to know about the Cowboys.
And Ceedee Lamb is a stud. And here's a word from our sponsor.
Erie Insurance says here's to the grown-ups who move, mortgage, mow, and still bust a move. But does your home insurance still fit? Erie helps you protect the home you've grown into, all at fair prices that are often less than the other guys. So how do you find the right coverage? Magic. Nope. Local independent agents who get to know you like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group,